Brought to you by Blackmagic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. Blackmagicdesign.com. The Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. Tonkawafilmfestival.com. And by Dehancer. Use the promo code RABBIT to receive 10% off Dehancer products. Dehancer.com.
Hey guys, how are we doing today?
Eric,
Really
great.
good.
Thanks. It's premiere day.
Well,
We're
thank
very
you.
excited.
Excellent. Yeah. So today is premiere. You guys are on site in Utah for the Sundance Film Festival. Congratulations, making it to Sundance with public access. David, tell me about how this all started. When did you have this idea to make this film?
It really started as a kid growing up in New York and going to my grandmother's apartment. I grew up in Brooklyn where they didn't have cable till shockingly late in the game.
They got it last year.
Yeah, last year. just got it. But I would go to my grandmother's on Friday night, and my mother would drop me there, and I would sneak into the back room and, flip through normal TV and then land on public access television. And suddenly, punk and porn and weird everything would come pouring in. And it just made you think about how much more there was out in the world, and also made you think, well, gosh, anybody can do this. Like, I could do this. So it became part of my DNA as a filmmaker, and years went by, and when I had children of my own and I saw them going through YouTube and TikTok, and I realized, wait a minute, this is eerily similar. And what happened to that what was that public access story? And I just became obsessed with trying to find out as much as I could about it, everything I had seen, but also had never seen and didn't know, and to try and tell this story, which was back then, but weirdly is like today in so many ways.
You bring up a really interesting point when you say that there are a lot of analogs in YouTube to the public access cable television of the 70s and then on. But now we have to compete with UGC, user-generated content, which is not community representation, but basically monetized representation. Where do you think we're going in UGC? Are we going to pop a bubble soon and get past this? But I think actually this would be a great question for Jake, because you got to start expressing yourself, and then money called and made it very different.
Sure. Well, I think you bring up a really important point. One of the things about public access television is that, yes, anybody could have a TV show, but you could not monetize it. You were unable to do any sort of advertising. You could advertise yourself, and this is well before people were thinking about their personal brand. But for me, the idea of, like, I went through basically a real life Wayne's World situation. I started a TV show out of my bedroom when I was 14 years old, and then it got popular, and networks came calling. MTV, Comedy Central ends up on MTV because I was able to get the show out to a wider audience, and also I made a fortune, because you know how much MTV paid in the 90s. But that, that's my story. The difference with Wayne's World is, they recreated Wayne's basement in a studio. We actually filmed in my bedroom, which I don't recommend people do. It's a terrible way to do stuff. But today, when I was doing it, there was no pressure on me to change the way I was doing things in order to make money. Even from MTV, even when a big company came in, like I had Final Cut or whatever. But while there was no sort of outward thing, perhaps there was something inward. And I think that's something that people really need to be careful about these days. Chasing algorithms, like, we all have to make a living. I understand that you want to monetize your stuff, but are you doing stuff from an authentic place and hoping for the best, or are you trying to, I'm going to be angry on the internet because anger sells? These are larger questions that we won't answer today. But this film goes back to the original sort of artist's intent. And, it's a conversation in progress. We'll see. Hopefully, looking at this film, people will maybe go, what do we want to do with this?
And I think we've all thought a lot about what, because there's so many analogs between the story of public access and sort of the internet as this, wow, what a great thing. Everybody can participate and everyone's voice can be heard. And, public access was the original user-generated content, the first time really in America anyway. And, so we've thought, of course, about the analogs, but also what was the difference. And to me, the biggest difference was was scale and speed, right? And this was local. It reflected the place where it was. So New York's public access looked very, very different, I'm sure, than Boise, Idaho's public access, which looked different than LA's public access. And that reflection was about speaking to communities of interest directly and having some accountability within your community, to be seen on the subway the next day or have to drop your tapes off at the station. And then it was the speed, the feedback loop was not so instantaneous.
I would film something in my bedroom and I'd drop it off and it would be 48 hours before it was on the air. Now you can make something and it takes 48 seconds. And in that, you also have 48 seconds to decide, do I want to make something more? Do I want to respond? And what I think was kind of good, and I'm not saying we can go backwards, but I did have to take a beat and say, what do I really want to say here? How do I want to respond to this voicemail that I got from somebody threatening to kill me because I'm a little annoying teenager? And taking an extra beat allowed me to come up with something smarter, wittier, funnier than just like, I'm angry right now, type, So maybe we can take it in and also slow down. That'll save the world.
And save the world. Yeah. Of course, obviously, that is the end goal. So, David, you spent a lot of time at the beginning of the film with Stephen Lawrence, who was one of the pioneers of this, and it's really great because it starts with him on the street with a monitor set up right outside, filming New Yorkers, going, "Look, you can speak to your concerns and to your neighbors," and then very quickly it turns into sexploitation. And I just think it says something about us as a society that anytime we have the opportunity to do anything, we will take it as far as we can. What safeguards can we as a society put in place to not do that? Or is it important that we're able to do that?
Well, this is the hardest debatable question. I think it is fascinating. And I think what you see in this film is, again, what you see in our world today is if you open this space, it will go wherever it wants to go. And these new technologies provide new opportunities, and each time we're sort of shocked and surprised that they default to,
they're saying that, they're showing this, and
there is I like to think that public access was sort of like the id of New York at the time. Like it was many of our kind of just deepest secrets and selves that were, those who dared put it out there were a particular group. I won't say that everybody felt that way. I think I like to think of it as sort of like, well, what's the alternative? Do we want someone to tell us what we can see and what we can't see. Are we okay living in the messiness? Are we okay living in the complexity of a society that has some voices we'd rather not hear? And I do think things that are patently illegal and harmful should be kept away from children, and however mechanisms we can do that with. But I think the lesson I learned from making this film is that it is going to default towards wildness because
That's what we do as a species.
It reflects.
Is it a response to repression, you believe?
I think a lot of what was on public access, I think, was really in fun. Like it actually, surprisingly, there weren't a lot of like Nazis and extreme groups and the way you see now. It was more
some of it, but it wasn't that wasn't sort of the driving force, which makes me believe, people are sort of inherently good. And when there are sort of people spouting hate or something, what we can control is our reactions to that. That's what we can do. But there's always going to be somebody that wants to talk about very serious issues on public access. There's somebody's going to want to get naked, and then there might be a fringe person that wants to say hateful things. It's going to be there. It's out there today with the internet. What we can do is we can slow down and we can control how we react to it and how we respond.
Save the world. I do think that's our time. Thank you guys so much for talking to me today, and best of luck at the premiere, and welcome to Sundance.
Thank you. Great talking with you.
This is the BTRP Media Network.